The views and opinions expressed at Enhanced Down Under are those of the hosts and do not necessarily reflect the official views of the company. Any content provided by our hosts are of their opinion and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, individual, or anyone or anything.
Welcome to Enhanced Down Under. This is the official podcast channel of Enhance NT. My name is Anna and I am a qualified education agent counselor.
And my name is Jairus and I work with Enhance NT.
We are now on our episode 17, but before we proceed to our topic for today, let's have a recap of our previous episode where we were visited by Ms. Amila Gunawardana, a certified PTE coach. In that previous episode, Amila shared her journey as a skilled worker here in Darwin, and eventually she also established her own PTE school. Amila has also reiterated the importance of achieving a high PTE score and its impact on the visa application process for skilled workers and international students. Also, Amila reiterated the importance of English proficiency on entrepreneurial success. So, let's proceed with our topic for today, which is the latest changes in the international education. This is very relevant, considering that most of the international students who are, even though they have already, started their classes, they have already enrolled, they have started their programs, they still feel anxious because most of them, their visa applications are still ongoing. It hasn't been decided yet by the Home Affairs. And when we speak to them, most of them, they say that they feel like they're in limbo.
Yep.
Because it's no joke, the waiting time. And unfortunately, it seems that there's high visa refusal rates. And these days, more stricter visa rules are being implemented by the Home Affairs.
Right now.
So it's a way of the Home Affairs gatekeeping. Being in the immigration, they are like the gatekeepers of their country. So it is their job to ensure that some of those education providers, especially those, what you call them, diploma mills.
Like diploma mills,
Yeah.
Sometimes you would find education providers where they don't really have like this full set of facilities with their academy.
Yeah.
They're all just online classes, and they're trying to cut back on. They feel like it's illegitimate academies where you're not really a genuine student trying to learn here, trying to study. It's more of just you trying to get into the country, and then you act like you're studying, but you're actually just working.
Yes.
It's just not really a good criteria. That's why they have something called a genuine temporary entrant, right?
Yes.
GTE.
Yeah.
So that
Which they
shows,
have changed eventually. But when you come here to Australia as a student, you have to be a genuine student. You don't come here to work, you come here to study. And the job of the Home Affairs is to ensure that you are really a genuine temporary entrant, a genuine student. So I know it feels challenging that they are implementing these stricter visa policies, but at the end of the day, it's for those students, because if you go to those schools that not really legitimate, you will get exploited. Right? So, okay, let's begin. With the latest changes in the international education, Jairus, would you like to begin with the first one?
So we do have a couple of changes for now. I think one of the changes that affects a lot of people at the moment would be they increased the minimum funds or evidence of your financial capacity. So normally for a student, when you enter here, you have to show that you have the financial capacity to support yourself. You can't just come here as a student and come with nothing. They want to make sure that you're not a burden to the system, you're not a burden to the society. You can support yourself. I think as of now, as of May 10 of 2024, applicants must now show funds of at least $29,710. which is a 21% increase from the previous amount of 24,505. And the thing is, for any of us who are immigrants and all that, this is not a small amount. Even just $1,000 would translate to like almost 40,000 pesos, and that's not like a small amount to just an average person. So even just an increase of $1,000 is a big deal. And now this is what, a 21% increase?
21%
That's a
increase.
massive jump.
That is actually the 7th time that they increased the evidence of financial capacity. I think
7th
around
time.
yeah, I think around January it was only around 20,000 something. And even before the stricter visa rules, sometimes evidence of fund is not being required depending on the school or the college that you are entering into. Like we have some partner schools that they have this. I'm not going to mention the name, but they used to have this higher level that when you use the document checklist tool in the Home Affairs website and you enter their name, that's the school that you are entering to, you will not be required to show evidence of funds. But now, since with the stricter visa rules, I think their level has been lowered also. Hence, all their students or all students who are aiming to enroll to their schools is now being required to show a certain evidence of funds. So Jairus is right. This is to ensure that it's one way of the government to ensure that you will not be a burden to the healthcare, and you have the funds to support your studies. You are not going to rely on your work.
Yeah, but I feel like sometimes there should be like a threshold or a ceiling, because I wouldn't be surprised if we're the most expensive country now, because I think we're $5,000 more than the Canadian study permit.
Oh, wow.
And you would think like Canada would be a bigger country than Australia.
I think so too.
So you wouldn't think like the ceiling of entry for Australia would be a bit lower, but now we're 5,000 USD actually, 5,000 USD
higher than what
than in
Canada used to.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a lot of money actually.
That's a lot of money. Yeah.
But anyway, being an international student is something that you have to think of. You have to consider the financial capacity of yourself, your parents, your spouse, or whoever would be willing to sponsor you. Of course, there are ways to minimize the cost. Like if you are able to get scholarship, and just like what our previous guest mentioned, Kath Veracruz, you may be able to get a scholarship via Study NT. So if your grades in your home country are good, then you might want to consider applying for scholarship. Although it takes quite some time to get approval, but once you get approved, it's a huge help on the financial side, because I think with what Kat mentioned before, she got a huge discount that was enough for her not to pay her tuition fee for a year.
Oh, that's good. Like for 30,000 AUD as a show of financial capacity, any discount is going to help.
Of course, it's a lot. And also you have to consider what type of course you are taking. Those who are, I think, in hospitality, after 6 months of their study, they are able to get job placements.
Oh, that's good.
So they can work and earn at the same time.
Yeah.
So that would contribute. But students here, they are only allowed to work
20 hours. Is it 20 hours?
24 hours per week.
Yeah.
24 hours per week.
Back in my days, 20 hours a week for students. And then when you're on holidays, it should be unlimited hours. But I'm not sure if they've changed it recently.
It is 24 hours per week still, and unlimited during holidays.
Yeah.
But I know some students that they really work overtime. I don't know how they juggle their time anymore, but it's easier here in Darwin because the traffic is good, and
I feel like we have to realize that workloads are different here compared to other countries. So even if you're doing let's say a full-time course, the workloads are set apart where they give you enough time to live a life or do a job. So sometimes for us, like if you think, oh, he's a working student or she's a working student.
Oh, yes.
Like the work capacity would be, you'd be in school 7 a.m. to, let's say, 5 p.m. And then you go to work at like 6 p.m., 7 p.m. until late midnight.
Yes.
But here they kind of give you a good work-life balance, study balance. you're not as pressured. Sometimes even work. So when I was doing my studies, I worked a job, and what would happen was they would never match my job during school hours, study hours.
They're flexible.
Yeah. So they would see that if you have classes on Monday, Tuesday, and your classes would start at, let's say, the mornings or the afternoons, they would never give me shifts on that particular days. So they do tailor it to the students too. So it's not as strict compared to like what you would think of other countries.
Yeah, because back in my days during college, I think my class would begin at 7 a.m. and there were days that my class would end at 9 p.m.
Oh, the big difference was even the load for the days. Because it was normal for us in the Philippines, so you would have like 6 classes in a day.
Yes.
Here you would maybe have like 3 or 4.
Oh, that's the reason why students here are able to study and work at the same
They
time.
don't overload you in a day with so much information. Because if sometimes you just can't absorb anything. If you have like a 3-hour class and have like a 2-hour class after that, your brain is just fried. You can't really, absorb as much info as you want.
That's the beauty of the education system here in Australia. The approach is always practical, and they make sure that the students won't have this information overload.
Yeah.
Like even high school students here, they are able to find jobs. Mm-hmm. They work at McDonald's, the fast food chains, or.
And I feel like it's a good precedent for the kids too. Like at an early age they figure out working at McDonald's, working at fast food restaurants, working in retail, it kind of gives them an early look into what responsibilities are, how to pay rent, and all that.
Yeah.
That's why you would find kids here a bit more inclined to working early compared to what we do back at home. But then different dynamics, different culture, different dynamics. So
yes.
It's a different thing.
Yeah. So that's the advantage. And also, if I may add, Darwin has this laid-back atmosphere or lifestyle. So even if you see a student who has work, who's studying, who's working, they're still able to manage their time for some leisure.
Yeah.
So, and Darwin has, an outdoor, they encourage outdoors here, outdoor activities. Most of the places that you can visit for some leisure are free. You don't have to pay for anything.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. So what's the next big change? This one. The possibility of higher student visa application fees. It's just a possibility, as proposed by Creighton Institute. Creighton Institute is a policy and research institute based in Melbourne. So although this is not official yet, but there's a possibility that it might happen. Currently, how much is the visa application, student visa application?
At the moment, it's $710. It's just no small amount, to be honest.
No small amount. And it's non-refundable, okay? But, if they are going to follow the suggestion of Creighton Institute, if Home Affairs is going to follow that, they would increase it to 2,500.
Ooh,
more than 3 times.
That's a big jump. That is a big jump.
And you are not going to refund that amount anymore once you lodge the application and you decide that there's a imminent visa refusal. I might as well just withdraw my application. You are going to say goodbye to your 2,500 if ever they implement that. So, what can you say? What's your take about that?
The thing is, like, me living here, 2,500 would probably be a couple of months' rent for anyone. So to anyone who just thinks, oh yeah, I pay $2,500 and I don't get it back, and I might not get my visa. That's a good amount of money, Like for groceries, for rent, for everything.
That's a lot.
That should last you for a couple of months, depending on where you live. But maybe a month or two. So that's a big hit. I feel like it's too expensive.
It is. At the original, at the current rate of 710, we are still one of the most expensive. I think.
Are we the most expensive now? Or?
At the moment, yes.
Yeah, and
as compared to U.S. and Canada,
if you
I
would
believe.
compare like economic sizes, population sizes, I don't think we're enough. I don't think it's fit enough to be paying that much compared to like the U.S. or Canada or probably even European countries. I'm not sure.
So increasing, if ever they are going to implement that, it would give that immediate discouragement from students from applying.
Yeah.
like if I were the student, I wouldn't take the risk, especially these days that there are high visa refusal rates.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
Why
that's
take
true.
the chance? But unless, of course, your background, your profile is,
Or you're willing to gamble.
or you're willing to gamble, you're willing to take that risk. But $2,500 is no joke. So what is the rationale behind that, according to Grayton? They said this is to significantly raise international students' visa application fees. The proceeds from these fees would help to cover an increase in Commonwealth rent assistance for poorer Australians who are struggling with high costs of living and accommodation. So, housing, cost of living, and healthcare are top issues for Australian voters in 2024 and leading into federal election year 2025. So, the rationale is, the amount, the increase would go to
The poorer Australians.
the poorer Australians who are struggling, because they blame international students, the influx of international students, for the housing shortage.
Yeah. Which I feel like doesn't make sense, Instead of like blaming the student itself, why not focus on the actual infrastructure of building more houses? They're not doing anything to actually lower the housing prices. So, like, how many students are actually buying houses versus, like, everyone that, for the most part, if you would figure it out, like, a lot of the students here, they don't really rent houses by themselves.
Yeah.
Everyone lives in shared
It's usually
houses.
shared,
Yeah.
like a dormitory type.
So I don't know why they're blaming it on the migrants for the housing crisis when they're not actually addressing the real issue itself. I feel like this is a band-aid issue, if you think about it. Like, why would you, what do you call that? Why would you put the responsibility of helping the poor Australians on the migrants themselves instead of the government?
When it's the government's
Doing something-
responsibility
doing
to.
something about it, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it in one of the commentaries about that proposal, and they said that they may think, the government or the Grayton may think that by suggesting that the government would be hitting two birds in one stone. One is helping the poorer Australians experiencing housing problems, and two, reducing the migrant rates, the migration rates of in Australia. But still, in the long run, international education as the fourth biggest sector, it would hurt that sector. And recently, it would discourage more students from applying. They might actually, I'm seeing in the news, international students are beginning to consider other study destinations like Germany. US. US is actually the leading now.
Oh, really?
Yes. I think they're more friendly to international students.
Because I think a couple of countries, they're slowly looking into the migration rates at the moment. Canada is looking into it. I think even the UK, they're kind of looking into it with the migration rates. That's what I see in the news at the moment.
Yes.
So I think let's look at the Commonwealth countries, Canada, US, and Australia. I don't know if it's a collective of what they're talking about, but they're kind of looking at like migration rates for those three countries.
Yeah, but if I were an international student, I think I won't consider other non-English speaking countries like Germany. How would I be able to adapt?
Yeah, and I think like the good thing though with the EU is I think for the public universities, education is free. Even as a foreigner?
Even if you are a foreigner?
Yeah, because I looked into it at one point when I was trying to do my master's before I did it in New Zealand. I was looking at schools in Norway, and you could study for free if you're doing for a public university. But then if you wanted to do like a part-time job, you need to learn how to speak Norwegian. Like you can get by with English, if you have a good grasp of English, you can get by, but then you don't expect anyone to cater to your skills. So if you wanted to actually find a proper part-time job, you need to be able to speak Norwegian or any other of the EU countries that.
You mentioned Norway?
I think I was looking at Norway at that point because they were offering like Arctic technology. So you would be sent into like the Antarctica or the South Pole or North Pole, and you would do research on the ice and all that stuff. The ice, polar technologies and all that. But then it's a bit big of a jump in terms of. Like you can't speak English. But they can speak English, but Norwegian is still the most leading language learn everything compared to like going to New Zealand or Australia, which is an easier jump for.
Yeah, like if you were an international student, what other destination would you consider other than Australia? since given these changes?
Given these changes, I feel like back in the day would be Canada. Canada would be the best choice. But now, since it's like
the freezing cold.
I do like the cold.
Really?
Yeah,
I don't.
Yeah. Maybe Spain. If you're a Filipino, Spain is another one.
Spain, yeah, you mentioned that earlier. I think
Yeah.
I might consider Spain because
You do have to be able to have a good grasp of Spanish.
Spanish.
Yeah,
It's something that maybe we can learn since we've been
Yeah.
colonized by the Spaniards for 300 years and we're a bit more familiar with their terminologies.
But then, like, as part of the reparations for colonizing the Philippines, if you lived, I think, 2 years of valid, I'm not exactly 100% sure on the details, but if you live like 2 years of valid residency in Spain, you can apply for permanent residency.
For permanent residency.
As a Filipino, or any prior Spanish colonies, if I remember correctly.
All right. So those are the other study destinations that you may want to consider. How about the U.S.? You think? I'm not sure.
I guess I'm not sure. With me, if you think about it, U.S. was technically the safer choice for me personally.
Really? How
Because
come?
I have more family there. Like
Oh,
a good,
yes,
like a good
yes,
half
yes.
of our family lives in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
So if I moved to the U.S., if I lived in California, it would have been, I feel like, an easier transition. I was there like a couple of years back, and everyone just thought I was American. Because the way I
Oh yeah,
talk.
with your accent also.
Yeah. Everyone was just asking, "Oh, where did you grow up?" Here? Like, no, I didn't grow up here. I'd never been here. Like, this is my first time here and everything. I think back then, U.S. would have been the safer choice with terms of what do you call it, job opportunities, the economy. Food was cheaper. Everything was a lot cheaper in the U.S. But then again, with the capitalism and everything, it's a bit of a struggle now compared to like 10 years ago. Because I was there like 10 years
just
ago.
drastically.
Yeah, because when I was there, I was fresh out of uni. It was after my graduation. We went there to visit my sister because she was doing her internship there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that was a good experience. But now it's now 2024. With the way some of my cousins say, some of my nephews say, it's hard. The lifestyle is a bit harder now compared to. They don't have as much social assistance, and sometimes they don't have universal health care. Everything is privatized, So they don't have Medicare. They don't have. If you don't have private insurance, you could be paying like $70,000 for something so simple as
an
operation for us. But here, I went through a couple of tests. Nothing too crazy, but. My GP, he said "Oh yeah, I was going through something." He was like, "Yeah, just get the test. It's part of Medicare." So I did I did an MRI and all that. So,
MRI.
Yeah, I did what do you call that? An ultrasound. And I feel like if you did that in the U.S., you didn't have any private insurance, you'd be paying thousands of dollars.
Here.
And then I didn't pay anything. Yeah. Because that's part of our program. That's part of our Medicare.
Medicare. So, if for PR, for a permanent resident like you, you're covered by Medicare.
Yeah.
You have Medicare access. So
even before that, when I was on my bridging visa, I had Medicare. If your visa, I'm not sure how those.
Yeah, I think so too. I've seen that with the Medicare website.
Yeah.
Once you have lodged your application for permanent residency,
Yeah.
they will. You can already access their Medicare.
I just had to apply every year.
Yeah.
Because it was
for renewal.
a temporary Medicare card. So I would apply every year for it. I would get it pretty quick. It was like a month, and everything is online. So for us, you would think, oh, it's such a hassle, But here, I just
smooth. Everything
I just send the form online, and then they just send it through the mail. And if you really need it and they haven't sent it yet, you could give them a call, and they would give you your number, and you can give that to either GP or you can give it to the clinic instead.
What? That's one of the most. That one of the reasons why Australia is very attractive to migrants and international students is the efficiency of the system. So, like Medicare, it's readily available even if you are not yet a PR and your application is still ongoing. And for private health insurance, that's something, of course, that you have to pay out of your pocket. But everything else here is like what you say, they have a very smooth process, and efficiency is really observed.
Like, nothing is perfect, but if you come from, let's say, the Philippines, where the efficiency is, the bar is set very low, the difference here is night and day.
Yes.
When you're used to waiting the whole day just to get something done, Like, let's say I did my driver's license or your NBI or whatever, your police clearance, we have something like that. And sometimes it would take a whole day for something that could be done in 20 minutes versus you coming here and you do something in less than 5 and you're doing it at the comfort of your own bed. Like it's night and day. Like I have no complaints about the efficiency here.
Oh,
It's not
yeah.
perfect, you know. There are things
Yeah,
they could improve
that can
on,
still be
but,
improved.
you know, I'm happy with the efficiencies here. Like I wouldn't mind waiting 30 minutes in an office here versus what we go through back at home, you know.
Yeah, also, if I may share, we have this mobile phone provider of ours, and we get this like 25 gig
Yeah.
of mobile data
All mobile data. Yeah.
every month. But you know, my son, he always exceeds. I don't know what he's doing.
Mhm.
But I just, you know, whenever I request, I phone that provider of ours. They would just give me 10 gig extra
Yeah.
for free.
Mhm.
I don't get that back in my home country.
No. And even like the
Because they
amount of
value their,
data.
you know, that means they value their customer.
Yep. Mhm.
That's a lot.
Even like the amount too in the packages. I think back at home, if you compare the prices of let's say 10 gigabytes data packages versus here, the amount you could pay, the amount you're paying for 10 gigabytes back at home could be worth 30 here. And they have something like carryovers. So if you don't use the whole 30 for this month, let's say you only use 10, the next month you get another 30 plus the 20 that you left.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
right now I have like 200 gigabytes in there. 'Cause I don't
It's
finish
rolling
one.
over every
Yeah.
month. Yeah,
Mhm.
those unused data.
Yeah.
You know, that may be off topic, but we just want to reiterate why Australia is very attractive to skilled migrants and to international students. Plus, of course, its proximity to Asia.
You feel like a valued customer here at some it's not perfect, you know. Not every company is perfect, not every provider is perfect, but for the most part, you feel like an actual customer here. You know, you don't feel like you're just someone to take money from. Like if you
Yeah.
have an actual complaint, you can lodge a complaint, and someone
And it will
someone's
be
gonna
handled.
listen.
Yeah. All right, moving on. So the next one, what's the next
I guess that's what we were
change?
talking about with different countries going. One of the things that they've changed would be the higher English language threshold.
Oh,
So
all
in
right.
early 2024, the government will increase the English language scores that students will need to meet to obtain the Australian visas. Like for temporary graduate visas, IELTS scores will now move from 6.0 to 6.5.
That's a lot.
And then for the student visas, the score will now increase from 5.5 to 6.0. And then for any ELICOs or English language training providers, it's now from 4.5 to 5.0. And for students going to any uni programs or pathway programs, the scores will now be 5.5. So you know, even like these small increments, they do play a lot. Like sometimes you can get a score and you just need that last 0.5.
Yeah,
but
the 0.5 difference, it matters.
it matters. Mhm.
When you come here as a student, well, during January, it was not yet implemented. Those who are enrolling into a vet school or vocational and education training course or programs, they were allowed to take in-house English tests. But then, come March, they changed it.
Yeah.
They already required a certain English level test, IELTS or PTE or TOEFL. And from 5.5 for vet schools, for vet students, it's now increased to 6, which is a challenge. We were in one of our partner schools last week, ICAE, and it was mentioned by their marketing manager that it's a challenge, you know, that increase in the proficiency test, that from 5.5 to 6, that's, although they say that it's just 0.5, it's significant. Because 0.5 increase would mean that you'd have to study for at least 3 more months just to achieve that test. Study English. So you would hire a coach or a PTE coach or, you know, an IELTS class in preparation for your test. You'd have to take at least 3 months of study to be able to achieve that extra 0.5 of score. So, and for those entering into a uni or university, 6.5, I believe, from 6. And that's the main reason actually why you're here to improve your English, and yet you are being asked for a 5.0.
And the thing is, so when I first did my IELTS, which was probably more than 10 years ago, or maybe not 10 years, maybe at least like 6 to 7 years ago, when I first did my IELTS, I did a refresher's course back home. And I met some people that they've been doing the IELTS course for 2 to 3 months now. So for some people, especially like for the nurses, I think they have like very high score requirements even for the other countries. It takes a good amount of time to master like the IELTS bands, which is like speaking, reading, listening, writing. So it takes a good amount of time for some people to really go through it. So even just the 0.5s, they do make a difference for a lot of people.
Speaking of the nurses, this nursing association that it's like an association that assesses your qualification as a nurse. They require at least 7 for IELTS, and in one sitting. Some would require that you get that score in one sitting. Or at least the next, if you were not able to achieve the required or the desired test score, you'd have to at least 6 months
and I think
interval before you take another test.
For some, they need in each band too. It's not just like your whole average. They want like 7 in each band.
So
let's say
for nurses, 7, minimum of 7 for each band.
Because it could happen, you might get like 6.5 on one band. And then on one, let's say for speaking or writing, you get like an 8. So that should pull up your average to maybe a 7. But since you got a 6.5,
that will not be considered.
But I think now you can appeal for specific bands, right?
You can just take one. In IELTS, they offered that. You can just retake a test for just one particular band.
Because back in my day, there wasn't. Like if you fail the band, you have to do it again. You can't.
The whole test, the 4 tests.
You have to do the whole test.
Now, IELTS gave that flexibility of you taking that particular test that you need to improve. That's a good flexibility that they considered. Anyway, so next would be for the 485 or the temporary graduate visa limits. They have changed it. So what is a 485 temporary graduate visa? This is a visa that allows international students to live, study, and work after they have finished their studies. 485 or temporary graduate visa, according to the website of the Department of Home Affairs, temporary graduate visa, they have 3 streams: the graduate work stream, post-study work stream, and the second post-study work stream. So the difference with the graduate work stream, I think the duration, it's up to 18 months, and this allows international students who have recently graduated with qualifications relevant to specific occupations in Australia. So it lets you live and study and work in Australia temporarily up to 18 months, while the post-study work stream, it usually between 2 to 4 years. So post-study work stream is like a degree when you graduated from the university. So they offer, longer stay in Australia. Now they have changed that. For bachelor degrees, if you have, graduated from the university, you are still allowed to work for up to 2 years. It's the same. They did not change that. Masters by coursework degrees, it's been reduced from 3 years to 2 years. So it's just the same with bachelors. And masters by research degrees, it remained 3 years. Good for them. The PhDs have been reduced from 4 years to 3 years. Usually, this is a huge, especially for the PhDs. They used to enjoy up to 4 years of stay.
And I feel like, especially if you're a PhD graduate, your qualifications are probably higher than a good amount of
as expected, yes.
Because you've reached like a level in your career where you're doing your PhD. So it might be harder to look for work compared to like the other the other degrees, because if you're a PhD, then you're probably like really accomplished back then. So I think like that's one of the things that might affect.
I wonder how well, here in Darwin, we have a lot of skilled workers. We have a huge demand for skilled workers like chef, like those chef in hospitality industry.
Yeah.
But I wonder if I'm not sure for PhDs, or they may have other opportunities in bigger cities
I feel
like
probably in
Sydney,
bigger cities.
Melbourne.
Because like for us, one of the biggest cancer research centers we have is in Melbourne.
Oh,
For
okay.
that one, so I'm guessing that's where they head to.
Yeah,
I feel
maybe.
like anyone with a PhD, you know. And then one of our
They're going
burn-
there.
We have like a good burn center in Adelaide. We have a really advanced burn center in Adelaide. Like when the volcano erupted in New Zealand, I forgot which one, but
All right.
they flew some of the patients with the burn
In Melbourne.
to Adelaide.
In Adelaide, okay.
Because we have a good burn center there.
Advanced. So those with PhDs.
I don't know. I'm just like shooting
It's just
off.
a guessing. I don't know.
If you're like a
also.
smart person with a PhD and you're a doctor,
Or maybe they
that's
can
where
be
you go.
teaching in the university.
They could be teaching too, you know,
Yeah.
like Monash and
That's
all that.
that's one of their
University of-
one of their options. But oh, okay. So all right. So the last one.
Oh.
This
Yeah,
what
this
we
one's
were
a-
talking
this
about.
one's a bit of a long one for the last one. For the as of first of July of 2024, visitor visa holders nor temporary graduate visa holders will no longer be able to apply for student visas within Australia. So these new restrictions will effectively close the onshore pathways between specific visa classes. It's a clear goal is to prevent temporary migrants from hopping from one visa type to another in order to extend their stay in Australia, and more broadly to reduce temporary migration to the country. Now, even for temporary graduate visa holders, they will no longer be able to apply for student visas onshore. The move is meant to address an issue documented in an October 2023 report from the
Grattan Institute.
Institute.
Yeah. Grattan.
It's found that I'm not sure how you say Grattan. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But it's found that a
Pardon
significant
us.
percentage of temporary graduate visa holders return to further study and often simply extend their stay in Australia. They say that 1 in 3 graduates return to further study, mostly in cheaper vocational courses, to prolong their stay in Australia.
All right, this is a huge change, a huge blow. Because there are people who come here to Australia using visitor visa, under a visitor visa, class 600. Oh, they visited Australia, they visited their parents, their relatives, and then 2 months after they decide to enroll to a vet course or to...
Which I think is valid because, for some people,
You come here.
They might come here, figure out if they want to study
Yeah.
here, if they like it here. If you feel like you're moving a good year of your life, 2 years of your life to a different country, to some people they kind of wanna check it out first.
Yeah.
Like if
See what does the country offers to
someone
them.
in Sydney and they'd be like, I kind of don't like it here, and then they do a student visa immediately. Like now they have no choice but to do it. Instead of like, I can visit Sydney, look at what's up, visit Darwin, maybe I like it here, I'll study there.
And then study. And lodge my application when I'm already there. Now, effective 1st of July 2024, that will never be allowed anymore. So, those who are visiting their family eventually decide to study.
Have to go back home.
You have to go back home to lodge your application. Because I think, this is, I'm just guessing, just my opinion, this is to reduce those the appeals, because if you lodge your application onshore or while you're here in Australia and your visa application gets refused, you will be given the rights to appeal to the tribunal. And that would a lot of those get visa refusal. And if you are going to lodge, if you're going back to your home country to lodge your application there, then automatically you won't have that rights to appeal anymore. And that's a good move to reduce the pipeline for those because currently I believe it takes more than a year for the tribunal to look into appeal an appeal. It takes a long time, and with the high visa refusal rates, I think it might take longer. So that's one major change. You cannot apply for a student visa if you come here to Australia while you are just visiting. And then the second is...
The other one is if you're a temporary graduate visa holder, you can't apply for a student visa anymore after that. So if you, let's say I've done my student visa course and I've got a temporary graduate visa after, then I want to study again. You can't do that anymore, right? Because it's for them like some people like after studying and they weren't able to find a way to stay here, they would look for a different course to study to extend their stay, and to them, I think you don't become a genuine student anymore.
Yeah.
It's like you're gaming the system for them.
Since you are already graduate, you have already graduated, you are already considered a skilled worker. Hence, you should be spending your time looking for a skilled employment, not to a further study. And worse is you're going to study at a lower level like a diploma course or a vet course when you are already considered skilled. So that's, really questionable. So they say that, again, by closing that pathway, the government is moving to redirect students, that graduates should be finding skilled jobs and becoming permanent residents or departing the country when they are more likely to become permanently temporary. So, that's a huge move by the department. And recently, when we visited one of our partner schools, they raised their concern about, these stricter visa rules. But we say that this is the time that we have to band together.
Yeah.
When they say that, we have less students now, hence let's not promote anymore. No, the more we have to band together and promote.
Yeah.
So in that case, I would like to share with everyone that we recently had got a new partner school located in Melbourne, and they also have a college campus in Canberra. The name of our of Enhanced NT's latest partner school is Opulence College, with 2 campuses, Melbourne and Canberra. So they are promoting their hospitality courses, business leadership and management. They have IT, human resources, and of course ELI course, like English language intensive course. So check that out, and that would be it.
Yeah, I guess just to wrap things up, don't forget, we can be found at 590 Mitchell Street, Darwin, NT. Our email would be skills@enhancednt.com.au. If you want to contact us, our phone number would be +61 0879792352. And please like, subscribe, and share our social media platforms. Don't forget to follow us on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Spotify. Thank you for joining us on this video podcast.
Whether you're an international student aspiring to study abroad or a professional looking to work in Australia, it is essential to seek professional advice, stay informed, and embrace the opportunities that migration brings.
And as we say, like here at Enhanced Down Under, we will help you choose the right path for your career goals. And up until next time.